The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
This Social Security measure gives at least some protection
for anybody to hand this out. We're asking for a chance to have the people who will receive the benefit to earn their way. The same principle established under the Social Security system in this area.
It is no longer acceptable to discuss women's rights as separate from human rights.
I know we can come together to face down the challenges of our own time.
Hi, this is Ken Gidge, and this is US or Us Democrats. Usually Dave Tanza sits here, or Dave Tanza and myself, and we interview different individuals and people. But Dave is very busy, so he asked me to sit in. So my name is Ken Gidge, and today we have, I think, an extremely special person because she is a senator. She is up for re-election. I really like this individual. She's feisty. Well, anyway. How are you?
It's good to see
Peggy
you,
Gilmour.
Ken.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm very well. Thank you.
Do I have it right that you are feisty? And
oh, who would say that?
You don't let those Republicans give you a hard time up there, do you?
Oh, you know, I will say that maybe some of the feisty reputation goes with the hair.
Oh, I love the hair.
But no, you know, I think that I have a reputation of speaking my mind, being an independent voice, but I have very good relationships with all of my Senate colleagues, and had some time this morning with Senate President Chuck Morse. You know, we talk about policy things where we agree, which is often, and where we disagree, which is sometimes. And I think that one of the things that we've been able to do in the last legislative session is really come together as a Senate body and get some things done. Working together, yeah.
Because this certainly hasn't worked in the last 2 years ago,
right.
When I was one of only 107 to 297.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah.
And
it was awful to watch, Ken. It was awful to watch from, you know, I was in the Senate.
Yes.
And then I was not reelected in 2010 when there was that large Tea Party wave. And it was painful.
To watch it.
To watch it. Because, you know, those of us who serve in the legislature, I mean, we take pride in that. We take pride in the history of the institution and the respect that I think historically we have expected to show each other, and I felt that during those 2 years a lot of that was lost.
Senator, as a representative, I can tell you it was worse than what you saw. Having said that, in the last 2 years under Norelli, and not a supermajority, I think probably supermajorities
are bad.
Are not healthy. Right. Because as a Democrat, we have the majority, and the Republicans won quite a bit that they wanted.
Yeah.
Because there was, you know, some Democrats felt that what they were asking for was good. So that was good. So I can understand that. Well, how about the change of Senate president? You lost an individual,
Senator Bragdon.
Right.
Stepped down from his presidency.
You worked with him before?
Oh, I worked closely with Senator Bragdon because in the Senate, you know, we're seated by district, and my district is District 12. Senator Bragdon is District 11. So we sat side by side for the 4 years that I've been, and you can't sit side by side with someone and not know.
I know.
I respect Senator Bragdon. I admire his work ethic. He has a great sense of humor. We exchanged a lot of good and friendly barbs, and we still do. I got an email from him the other day. But we did have that change in the Senate after he took the job at the LGC, which is now Health Trust is his portion. He was felt, and many people felt, he was in a conflicted situation many times. He couldn't participate in the policy discussion.
Yep.
So it was too much of a conflict, and he, after hearing from several people, stepped down from the presidency.
Yes, he did, and that, of course, was another very large political thing taking place with LGC. I mean, that was a monster problem, and well, that's gone. But how have you done this last 2 years? It's changed. Do you feel that the state? I'm sure you feel the state can go a little faster. Having said that, but what's going on up there that makes you feel very good?
You know, what's going on that's made me feel very good is we came in after those 2 tumultuous years where, in my opinion, that the decisions that were made based on ideology rather than substance, in many instances. When we saw budget cuts that no one, I don't think anyone argues that it was time during the recession when we were going to have to make some very difficult choices around cuts. But the way the cuts were made were, you know the old saying, penny wise and pound foolish? They were penny wise and pound foolish.
Yes, I was in the Hillsborough County Executive Council, and I can tell you, when they save $465,000 and the 4 social workers say, well, that's what we're paid, but we saved the state $1.5 million and then still fire them.
Yep.
You talk about penny wise and pound foolish, but things are going a little bit better.
Well, things are going quite a bit better, I would say. We were able to craft a budget that restored, they had cut 50% of the funding to the university system, and at a time when we're, first of all, the lowest funder to our university system in the nation as a state. And we're desperately working to find ways to keep our young people here in New Hampshire. I mean, that's our, I think, our biggest challenge and our biggest priority. So we were able to restore that in exchange for a freeze on tuition. They cut funding to the community college system. We were able to restore that, and in fact, in Nashua, we have a great community college.
We do.
We do. They have reduced their tuition this year by 5%. So again, making those investments in a wise way that will get us long-term.
I'm glad you used the word investment. There's a lot of people don't quite understand that. Nobody wants to pay more taxes, okay?
Right, no. We're taxpayers. We're all taxpayers,
exactly.
yeah.
But when you take something away, something pays.
There's
all right?
cost.
You take away something, and by putting it back, I do think it is an investment.
Well, you know, as they say, Ken, there's no free lunch. And many of those cuts, what they did was simply downshift the ultimate cost to the local taxpayer.
Yes.
So that was problematic. So we've been able to, you know, we passed a budget in the Senate 24-0. Believe me, that is a feat that, can you imagine that happening in Washington? 24-0.
No, I do not. I cannot imagine something like that happening.
So, you know, it was bipartisan because there's a Senate, the majority of the Senate is Republican. So certainly a bipartisan budget. We were able to do a lot of other things on a very bipartisan way. You know, people say to me, well, what's it like? Is it partisan bickering? And I say, you know, I would say somewhere between 85 and almost 90% of the bills we pass have no partisan element to them. I serve on transportation. I'm the vice chair of the Transportation Committee. Served under Senator Roush, who's a Republican. Great committee chair. I don't think we had a party line vote in our committee out of any of the bills. There may have been one, but certainly it wasn't very important because I can't remember it. Now when all of those bills were related to our transportation system, our infrastructure, and they weren't about being a Republican road
Or a
a
Democrat,
Democratic
correct.
road. It was about what is the safety element on this road. And so I think in the Senate and in the House, I would say, if you count the bills and you do the math, it's a very, very high percentage that are unrelated to partisan politics.
It's interesting you would say do the math. The numbers really don't lie, but we're in election time.
Right.
And people either count the numbers differently or see them differently. How is your campaign going?
Well, I think that my campaign is going well. I've gotten to know the district. It was redistricted after the 2010 election. Redistricted very unfavorably for Democrats. And some say gerrymander, some say redistricted. But I've worked very well within the district in the last 2 years. I've paid very close attention to it. You know, I've worked in Nashua for 35 years. I've lived in Hollis for over 40. So people know me, they know my family. Out in the farther reaches of the district, because now I represent Nashua Wards 1, 2, and 5, Hollis, Brookline, Mason, Greenville, New Ipswich, and Ringe. They had to get to know me. I've spent a lot of time out in Greenville, New Ipswich, and Ringe, going to selectmen's meetings, going to town meetings, going to community events. And, you know, I'm known as a hard worker. I'm respected as someone who listens to constituents. As I said, I don't represent the Democrats in the district. I represent the district. And I've had a lot of constituent requests to do things, to do legislation, and we've worked very hard together. So I'd like to say that my campaign is going well. It's a difficult year. There's a lot of tension out there around the midterm elections, and
Yes,
we're all working
I
hard.
am,
Yep.
you know, running again for, you know, Ward 6 representative, and you're correct. And the type, some of the things I'm seeing, I'm sure you've come across it, is they just kind of had enough of politics after Obama winning and all of that, and it's really hard. And I'm very worried. And let me ask you: are you worried that people are not going to go out and vote?
Well, I worry about that. But I certainly hope that people understand the importance of it. First of all, we do not want to return in New Hampshire to that legislature of 2011 and 2012. And I think that was a result of people not
I don't think anybody does.
turning out to vote. So I think there are candidates that are running from that era that are looking to go back to that era. We don't want that. I think, as I say, the tensions are high, and there's been a lot of negativity. Someone brought me a flyer this morning that was, you know, I would say distorting my record, but putting it out there in a very negative light. That's part of the game. And I think that what we're seeing as a nation is the third-party money that's come into elections.
It's interesting that you would say third party. Yes. Yes, that's true.
Or it comes
true.
from one of the parties, the GOP or the Democrats, but in fact the funding from that has been from other interest groups. And I think we're doing ourselves a disservice to allow this to continue.
Okay, we're sort of like a real small state, New Hampshire. Pretty important. I mean, we're the third or fourth largest governing body in the English-speaking world, which people don't understand.
No.
And we're the only volunteer government.
Right.
So, and we do everything that everyone else does, you know, as a senator, as a representative. And we still have to raise the money, and we still have to do absolutely everything, and as everyone else does, and everyone's paid very, very well. And up here, we really do a lot of sacrifice.
We do, yeah. Well, you know, we get $100 a year, $87 after taxes.
Yes. You know,
But you know, again, I think it's important for people to understand that, you know, I'm running, I think, a good campaign. I've done a mail program, but it's all about me. I only speak about me, my accomplishments. You know, but what other people will come in and say negative things, either about me or say negative things about my opponent. Well, we don't have any control over that. That comes from, as I say, those other interest groups who are interested in seeing me be reelected because I have a strong history in increasing access to health care, or I'm knowledgeable about health care, or people who have...
and that's important.
It's very important.
And I'm in commerce, which is banking and insurance, and believe me, it's very important.
And those people who are interested in seeing you return would be the ones that would put forward support for your campaign, whether it was directly or more often indirectly.
And if there's any of my followers out there watching, as I do some shows here, I absolutely recommend you as a state senator.
Well, thank
Peggy
you.
Gilmour, I mean,
Thank you.
come on. I mean, you're there, you're aware of what's taking place, you study the problems, you work at it, you don't mail it in. All of these things do happen, but you're one of those working people, and you do get along with everybody.
Oh, ask my husband if I don't have a bad day or two.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's a bad day, it's because you're up there, you come, no. But you seem to be very well liked all around the State House. All the people I have talked to, when I mention your name, Peggy Gilmour, Senator, I mean, they smile, and you've either done something good or going to do something good. But let's see, you also do a radio show, don't you?
I do. I do a radio show with Betty Lasky.
Betty, wait a minute. Betty, wait a minute. Betty Lasky, let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. She's the one with those big signs.
Yeah, she's got the big signs in the other wards in Nashua. She and I have, you know, I just realized we've been doing this for our radio show for 4 years coming up. Friday mornings, 9 to 10, Granite State View. Try to just have conversations such as this is with guests about what's going on in the state, the Granite State. It's been great fun, and it's given me the opportunity to meet people that I wouldn't have met otherwise, hear their story. You know, I'm interested in people's story. I spent most of my career, I'm a nurse.
Yes.
Spent much of my career doing care at the end of life. And
Hospice care.
Hospice care, palliative care. And ultimately running the home health and hospice care here in Nashua, now moved to Merrimack. But an important part of life's journey is the story that we bring and the story that we tell. And so doing a radio show, I just get the opportunity to hear somebody else's story. I like that.
Yes, it can be fun. I've had a few experiences, and also sometimes some amusing things, but we won't get into that. As a senator, what can you see? Rail? Are you for gaming, not for gaming?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Rail, I serve on the Rail Authority. I was in Concord today. We had a Rail Authority meeting. I'm very supportive of understanding what the economic impact of that will be. We have every indicator to believe that it will be an economic boost to the southern part of the state, which means an economic boost to our entire state. The rail study, economic study, will come out in just about a month. And we're all looking forward to that. As we say, indicators are strong opportunity for economic development. So I'm in favor of that. Gaming, you know, to me, Ken, it's another business. I believe that if we're going to have that business, and I would support having that business, as I would support most businesses coming in, as long as we have the regulatory infrastructure in place,
Which we do.
as long
much
as
so,
there's
yes.
local consensus. That has to be
There
part.
has to be.
Has to be part. You know, when I knew this was going to be a question that I was going to have to answer, am I in favor or not, I took the bus from the Nashua Mall down to Mohegan Sun.
Oh, really?
Yep. I said, well, if I'm going to have to vote on this, I'm going to have to see
Yeah.
firsthand. That's
Okay.
how I like to
Yeah.
learn. Now, I'm not the youngest kid in the block, but I was the youngest kid on the bus.
Oh, really?
And the bus was packed. It was full. We went to Mohegan Sun. We got tickets on the way for, you know, free games, which, some
Sure,
of which I
sure,
didn't understand, lunch, and people were going down to have a good time.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, it was beautiful. I could try my hand at gambling. I think I was $9 short at the end of the day.
Yeah, okay.
I had lunch. I went shopping, and then we took the bus home. People had a great time, and I said, "Well, we're going to Connecticut to spend
Yes,
this money."
yes,
I bought a new suit. I bought
Yes.
it in Connecticut.
yes. And if they put it in Everett,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Someone has said as much as 25 to 40% of the license plates in the parking lot of the gaming in Connecticut's in Everett's parking lot will be from New Hampshire. That's a lot of.
That's a lot.
We're not just talking the jobs and it as a business, as you said. That's a good way of putting it, a business. But we don't want to lose our business to Massachusetts. And Massachusetts certainly wished that we would have a sales tax, which we never
Which
will.
we're not going to,
because they're
yeah.
losing a lot of business to
Yeah,
us.
to us, yeah. So to me, it's, you know, every business has associated risk. For example, I'm in healthcare. Well, we have a lot of hazardous waste, but we know how to manage that, how to control it. But it's a part of the management that you have to do around the risk in the business that you run. And I think that has to be the same of any kind of business that we bring into our state.
Well, what I've heard, Peggy, is that all the problems that will bring, and I've heard it said, well, if the people go there and come home, they're going to bring home problems, if they have problems. You don't look like,
right.
you know, the person who went to Mohegan Sun and Connecticut and came back an awful person.
I was $9,
no, you had a
$9
good day.
poorer.
As a state senator, what's in the future? What can you see? What are your main thrust, and what can you see in its totality for the state? What's good, what's bad?
Well, I think going forward, you know, we've had return from the awful recession, but in a very sluggish way. We're on a track that's going forward. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the entire country, but we haven't seen the rebound in our jobs that we have seen in past recessions. To me, one of the biggest challenges is going to be as I said, investing in our state in a way that we have jobs for our young people, particularly because we have to keep them in our state.
Business tax.
Business tax is in the package of taxes. New Hampshire is ranked very favorable. When you
Do you
segment
think that will come down?
the business taxes, I think that's one of the things. You know, there's a commission to look at how our business taxes are, and I think that there are some really smart people that are looking at that, and how can you put it in a package so that you're maintaining the essential services that we need to maintain, our education, our infrastructure. How do we maintain those things without jeopardizing them, and yet find a way to keep our business climate favorable? Because I think that we have a lot of competition. We're seeing Massachusetts adding jobs at a faster rate than we are.
Yes.
So we have to be very, very mindful of that. You know, you go back to the train. One of the things that the study has pointed out is that millennials are much less invested in automobiles as we were, and they're looking for access to Boston or living in Boston and access to the great state of New Hampshire. So I think that we really have to be mindful of how do we make investments that make sense to move our state forward and not make us the caboose of New England.
That seems like the big question, and it is factual. We've got to speed it up to get more people back. And the sad part is that you are a good senator, and these are the in-between times. And I really do hope that people get out. I really do hope that if they voted for you, they will vote for you again. If they haven't, have them consider it and vote for you. You're very important, Peggy, as a person who can get along with the Republicans and Democrats. And it's very important. We've got about a minute and a half left.
Gosh.
How can people get in touch with you?
Well, I have a website, peggygilmour.com. My name is spelled Gilmour, certainly, and all my contact information is there. My contact information is on the Senate website. I'm very accessible. I list my address and home number. Give me a call, send me an email.
Now, are you on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm in LinkedIn, and I have to say, a great website designed by Mesh here in Nashua. Give a shout out to them. Local small business, they do a great job.
Well, that's great. That's great. And again, we both want people to, everyone to go out and vote. When we hear it's going to be 50% or less, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's
we
awful.
are so blessed to live in a democracy in this country. And this is part of our responsibility in having that opportunity to vote.
Well, on the word blessed, I want to thank you very, very much. And Peggy Gilmour, please, let's get you back as a senator. I think it's very important. And so I've been sitting in for Dave Tanza. This has been US or Us Democrats. Keep watching the channel. There'll be more, I'm sure, of the political debates in the next week. Thank you very much.
This Social Security measure gives at least some protection.
For anybody to hand this out, we're asking for a chance to have the people who will receive the benefit to earn their way. The same principle established under the Social Security system in this country.
It is no longer acceptable to discuss women's rights as separate from human rights.
I know we can come together to face down the challenges of our own time.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.